Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Super Lady Hero Hour. And by special, I mean it is the premiere of Loki on Disney Plus. I am Yael Teagle. I'm joined as always by KB. Hello, KB.
Hello. Thanks everyone for joining today's show. Like y'all said, we are going to be chatting all about the Loki premiere. Before we dive in, this is your full spoiler warning. If you did not watch it at midnight or any other time today, go watch it and then come back. But here's the quick cap for the premiere, episode 1, Glorious Purpose, said in my best Loki voice. Loki, the god of mischief, finds himself out of time and in an unusual place and forced against his godly disposition to cooperate with others. So, Yael, how are you feeling about Loki so far?
I'm really enjoying it, honestly. I'm loving this. I have no idea where we're going. In my mind, I've already decided kind of what it is. And really, as much as I'm excited about Loki and everything, I love time travel. I want a time variant organization show. Like, I want a show just about them. I would love to know more about where they're living. I'm sure we're going to get all of this, but all I want now is to live in this world and like understand what's happening here. Rather than like, I don't even care about Loki at this point. I care about like when was this set up and why is the aesthetic in the 70s? Like that's where I'm fascinated. What did you think about the premiere episode?
Listen, I'm digging it. This was hands down my most highly anticipated series from the MCU on Disney Plus. For me, it did not disappoint. I've said it time and time again, I adore Loki as a villain. It is interesting to see him out of sorts and, kind of in a place where he has literally no control. I need to know more about the TVA. I think the TVA is fascinating. I think the narrator, Miss Minutes, or I'm calling her the narrator rather, but Miss Minutes, I think, is a fascinating character in and of herself. Like, how did we create Miss Minutes? To your point, what time period are we living in? Why do we have these hunters? Like, why are the hunters? I feel like, clearly Hunter B-15, played by the remarkable Wumi Masaku, she is fabulous, and she's clearly like the head huntress or a hunter/huntress, and so I adore that. But how did we even get here? Why did we even create them?
Yeah.
Who is really behind the TVA? And so in my mind, it's so funny, but I think it's a version of Loki behind the TVA. Like, for some strange reason, clearly at the end of this episode, it's revealed that the variant that they are searching for and that they're going crazy to find is in fact Loki. And so there is a part of me that feels like, because there's so many different variants of Loki, maybe there's a quote unquote good one who created the TVA, to kind of stop whatever the other Lokis, and mischievous Lokis would be able to do. So I am curious because it's funny, when Loki was asking questions about the TVA and no one could answer them, I was like, this feels like a very Loki thing to be responsible for. So
Genuinely, the reveal at the end that he was the variant that they're chasing, he is this devil that this child saw. I am here for it. I feel like it was pretty clear early on that that's where we were headed. But I love your idea that he is behind the TVA, specifically because I decided watching it, my prediction, not to get super ahead of myself, but like, is that he becomes that variant, the like devil one, through this process. Like, they're creating that version of him that they're going to start chasing. He's going to see what they're doing, and that's going to lead to him becoming that.
But that's the best thing about time travel, is that literally both things that we have said are possible, right? Like, they could be creating this version, and also that another version could still be responsible for the TVA. So
Right.
like, I mean, like, anything is possible with time travel. But what I adore most about this show is, as if you guys have been watching these reviews, that like, I wasn't the biggest fan of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I definitely adored WandaVision. And for me, what I like the most so far about this show is the dynamic between Mobius and Loki.
Mm-hmm.
So it is funny. I adore seeing Owen Wilson back, back on our screens, back in our hearts. It's funny, it's mysterious, it's like it's endearing. I mean, there's just like a whole lot of elements to this show, and I feel like we're just getting started. And I'm already kind of disappointed that we're only getting 6 episodes. So I feel like that's probably where like my biggest disappointment lies, is that it's only going to be 6. But I'm curious to see just how far we go. Now, I will say, with the introduction of the TVA in this particular series, it makes you question everything that you think you currently know about the MCU, right? Because they can manipulate time, they can rewind time, as we saw. They're constantly rewinding time. So what does that mean for all of the major moments that have happened? And what does that mean? So I'm a little bit fearful, because I feel like, we do have another film coming up after this, Black Widow. And I am fearful that we are going to rewind a certain death that has already occurred. So I'm curious to kind of see how they play with death, with rewinding time, how they manipulate what we think we knew from the films by rewinding time. And also I'm curious to see how time manipulation plays into the multiverse of madness.
It's so interesting that you bring that up, because I had a very similar thought in my mind. And again, what I'm taking from this. There's no evidence to support one way or the other about what we're saying. But from this first episode, especially with Miss Minutes explaining how this all works, I was like, okay, so we're definitely setting up the how we get to there, which is fantastic. But I have a feeling that everything that happens in these 6 episodes, because they are kind of outside of the timeline, is going to, in my mind, is not going to change or affect anything. I think we are going to see different parts of the story as we have, and jump into these situations and see it happening over there, but we're over here, and not change or undo anything. That's how I feel, that they want us to think that we're about to disrupt it all, and nothing is, we're going to come out of this and nothing is going to have changed.
And see, I don't think so, because the way time works, as Mobius was describing to Loki, the way time works there is dramatically different. Mm-hmm. And I think that, we are not outside of a timeline. I think we're inside of one that is very much being impacted on the outside, because that's their job, right? Is to control it. So I definitely think that, Loki is going to do something on this show that opens up the multiverse of madness. I think it only makes sense, because I think that we saw kind of Wanda start the process, and I think Loki might finish it. Because again, I think that we have to remember his goal is always chaos, right? That's why the TVA doesn't like him, is right, because he's so chaotic. And the multiverse of madness is legitimately the definition of pure chaos. So I think that, yes, Wanda is a very, very powerful witch. But I also think that having kind of help that she may not realize she has in Loki, in the TVA, in this timeline, will also create some additional chaos that will be necessary moving forward. So, I think that there are a multitude of things kind of working together to transpire where we want to be. But my greatest fear is that they're going to rewind some things that I don't care for. So, and on the flip side, that they're also going to open up the doors for some things that I very much care for. So right. I think it might be twofold in that regard. But I am 100% thrilled to kind of see how we navigate this. Loki's not very good at listening, and which seems to be a theme, I think, in most of the content that I've been watching lately. I'm like, these people do not listen. And Loki is like the chief of not listening. So I'm also curious to see, as he continues to interact with Mobius, how that's going to work, because he doesn't listen to a thing Mobius says realistically. In his mind, he has always been this way, though. He's very calculating. So he's constantly thinking 15 steps ahead. So I'm curious to see if Mobius is thinking 20 steps ahead or not. Right. And how, his quest for this other variant Loki has taught him how to think like Loki. You know, I'm just curious to know what he's picked up from that particular variant
Right.
that may help with this variant. So.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think when he explains how Loki like works with someone until he stabs him in the back, like he's fully aware of who he's dealing with, and I think that's super fascinating. I like the idea of Loki dealing with someone who is aware of how he does things. And I'm excited to see how that goes. I will say the DB Cooper thing, which was teased in the trailer and then was revealed in this episode, really bummed me out that it was just a like, remember when you did this cute thing and it was a prank and it was silly? Because I was so excited to see it all. Like the DB Cooper's such a fun story. And so I was so excited to see it. And then it was like, yeah, this was a thing that occurred. We're moving on. So that was kind of a disappointment for me. Otherwise, this episode was everything I wanted. And I'm eager for more.
Yeah, I think we will see. I think people got really excited from the trailer about seeing the various Lokis through time and history. And I feel like we should not get attached to them. Like, and not just DB Cooper, but I mean, I definitely just feel like, there's not enough time to tackle that because there's an overarching storyline. So I feel like they're probably just going to be like little snippets of flashbacks like the DB Cooper thing was, and let's just move forward. So I feel like, yes, we were excited about playing through that, but I don't think it's going to be kind of the lapping. But I am so excited to see more of how Hunter B-15 and Mobius interact because they are on two very different sides. Mm-hmm. You know, Hunter B-15 is very much by the book, and Mobius is thinking outside of the book by even utilizing this variant of Loki.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily always go well for either of them. So I am curious to see how they learn how to work together better, because right now it just seems like they each want what they want and it's not the same thing and they're not collaborating well. So I am curious to see how that changes based on what this variant of Loki does, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Like how he may bring them together, because I feel like they're going to need to do something. And clearly they probably need to do something before because that other variant is still out there. So here we are. But I will say one cool thing about this show is how they just had those Infinity Stones like pop rocks, using them as paperweights. I was like, oh, this is like the big leagues. Like it's real serious because they don't even care about these Infinity Stones because they don't need them because they truly are the masters of time. So.
Absolutely. Well, it's time to rate this premiere episode of Loki. Here on Super Lady Hero, we rate things on a scale from poop to kittens, or in between. KB, where are you rating this episode of Loki?
Yeah, definitely giving it a kitten. For me, how about you?
I agree 100%. This is a kitten. I would give it more kittens if I could. In fact, I'm giving it the kitten from the part where he had to sign all the words he said. That's the kitten.
and then kept talking and kept getting pages to sign because he, again, doesn't know how to listen. All right, so we talked a little bit about it, but let's dive maybe a little bit deeper into what your predictions are, maybe not just for the next episode, but for the whole season. Like, where do we think this show is going?
Yeah, I definitely stand by my prediction that this is what builds to the variant that they're chasing, and that it is kind of their fault that they're chasing him. And now you've got me really worried about them undoing specifically a death. My prediction is that you might be right on that one. What about you? What are your predictions?
Yeah, so just apart from time being truly manipulated, because I do think we need to consider that, and I do think that's going to happen in some capacity, and Loki, of course, opening up the multiverse of madness, essentially. I am predicting a better team up between Hunter B-15 and Mobius. I don't think we can trust this variant of Loki. Like, I don't think you can trust any variant of Loki. Right. I should probably start there. So, because I don't think you can trust any of them, definitely not this one. And so I think that they'll have to work together to truly solve this mystery because, again, they have had the wool pull over their eyes, every other time before. But I am curious to know how long they've been searching for this variant.
Right.
Since time has no meaning, I'm like, so is this like decades worth of time? Like, what are we working with? So I'm
Right.
curious to know that, and I think that they will hopefully reveal that. But I also actually predict that the TVA will no longer exist after this show. Like, I think that there will be a dismantling of the TVA.
Oh, interesting.
I think that, because right now we don't, like, we know their purpose, but we don't know their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, I think it's not gonna end well for the TVA by the end. So I guess we'll have to wait and find out.
That's so interesting because I feel like we're just meeting them for the first time and we're also going to end them. And now I worry about that because I really would love an entire show about just them.
I mean, to be fair, you could have an entire show about that and they still be dismantled right now.
That's true.
And that's mostly because you could talk about all the things they did before they got dismantled. Like, there's always an opportunity for that. And quite frankly, since they're going back in time for this Black Widow movie, then they can go back in time to give us, the TVA origin story.
Yeah.
So
you make a good point. All right. Who is your performer of the week?
So my performer of the premiere, is going to be Woomy. I just think that, like, she's so BA. She is not afraid of Loki at all. And she's not afraid of his quote unquote powers, because to her, she's like, whatever, you are a variant and you're annoying, so I'm going to be as BA as possible. So I adore Hunter B15. Can't wait to see more of her. So how about you? Who is your performer of this premiere?
I agree. Honestly, she was one of the two females we saw the most of. And I liked getting to know her. And I feel like obviously she's going to be a big part of it. The only other female was the judge. And I also really
and technically Miss Minutes, who, Miss Minutes is the one. I don't know. Like, I also adore Miss Minutes, so yeah. Honorary mention to Miss.
Is Miss Minutes going to be your style icon?
I mean, Miss Minutes should be. I love someone who's an originator. I actually don't hate, though, the I'm gonna go. I don't actually hate the Hunter outfits. Like, I think they're functional, and like, one of my biggest issues in superhero shows, especially when it comes to women, is for them not having functional outfits.
Sure.
So I actually like the Hunter outfit because it is functional for taking down time variance. And thank you, Disney and the MCU, for making something. Thank you for allowing her to have short hair and not just having like long hair where she's running to catches.
Yes.
Just thank you. Thank you. So yes.
Yeah, I have no style icon for this episode. Except for maybe Miss Minutes. It's legs and a clock, so what's not to love?
I mean, I feel like what we need is like a Miss Minutes like reveal, like, where they like become the human version. Right. Like, I wouldn't be mad at that. And to kind of see what Miss Minutes like actual form is, I totally wouldn't be mad.
Same.
But I think also I'm going to give honorable mention to Gugu. Because Ravonna Renslayer's like judge outfit is actually nice too. Yeah. So, I'm not gonna say that.
All right.
And so for you, what happened with the OMG moment for you?
Honestly, my OMG moment was the cat. There was a cat for no reason, and I was here for it. So that was, nothing about the episode stood out as like a surprise, because I do feel like it was pretty clear that he was going to be the variant. So I think every time he fell through the floor was a surprise, and that there was a cat. What about you? What's your WTF or OMG moment?
Yeah, it wasn't like a huge surprise. I feel like we were kind of getting to the point where it's like, okay, Loki has to be who we're looking for, but also has to be the villain. So yes, but every time Mobius rewound time, it was shocking. And I don't know why, because I knew it was coming. But I mean, he would just hit the floor so aggressively that I would be like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Like, bless Tom Hiddleston's heart, because I like all of these takes with you just literally falling on the ground nonstop. Bless. But yeah, I don't feel like anything was particularly like shocking where I was like, oh no, what happened. So I'm hoping that we get some OMG WTF moments as we move forward.
Awesome. Well, that is it for our little discussion about Loki. Stay tuned to Super Lady Hero Hour because we are about to talk about all the other superhero shows on the air right now. But if you are not watching us, KB, where can everyone keep up with you on the internet?
So at the Lady Kay-B, that's TheLadyKayB on Twitter and Instagram only. And that's where I post all of my interviews. And you can also subscribe to Through the Lens of Lady Kay-B because I also house them there. Interviews with cast from various things. And so if you would like to check out my conversation with Wumi Musaku about Hunter B15 for Comics Beat, you can go to comicsbeat.com and check it out right now. And how about you, Yael? Where can everyone find you?
I am everywhere at Yael Teagle. That's YAELTYGIEL, including Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, really everywhere. So check there for more news, and we will see you on another episode of Super Lady Hero Hour. Bye.
Thanks.